Hey, it's your boy Elder Rich here, and you're watching Envy's channel.
What's up, guys? It's Envy. Now we're back for another episode of Sit Down with Envy. Today I have Collat, who is currently playing on Kraken.
Yeah, playing with Kraken ECS at the moment.
Well, why are you gonna say ECS? What, no
I
one,
don't know, man. That's
no one
just what
even
they
knows
call it.
that.
I don't know either.
God, why can't orgs just be simple like Stormwolves? You know? shout out Stormwolves. ECS. Wait, ESC? ECS?
I don't know, man. I'm dyslexic. I can't read.
I don't have the Kraken Discord anymore.
Oh, it's ESC. Yeah, okay, so I fucked it up anyway.
Don't mind. Don't worry, the team I'm on, I fucked it up too. So,
Nice.
it's gonna be great. So, we'll get straight into it. You know, we're both busy people, both losing ranked games.
Yes.
I'm losing ranked games. I don't know about you.
Oh, so am I. No, it's terrible this season.
Yeah. I'm 28% win rate on a bronze one account.
Okay, I'm not that down bad. Shit.
Why? I
Whoa.
may be washed.
Oh.
Some people would like to say it's never good.
Well.
But we'll start us off with who is Collat?
Collat, or my name's Isaac, I guess. 22 from Vic, Australia. And I am bad at League of Legends, along with a bunch of other people that we all think we're decent, and then we play in Iron to Plat tournaments. And that's about it.
You did
I
lose
played
that
Eddie
finals.
Carey.
I see. I saw that.
Oh, dude, ooh. Okay, so that's the fun thing. I'm not actually meant to be playing for Kraken. Well, I'm sort of half playing for Kraken, half coaching and teaching them.
Oh no.
The AD carry doesn't actually like show up half the time, so I was like, yeah, I'll play.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of like fundamental stuff that they're missing as a team. A lot of just basic like, oh, when do you base, when do you go for this, sorry, when you move for like dragons and whatnot, just like a lot of pretty simple puzzle pieces that teams need as 5 to put together, that I'm trying to teach them. Sorry. And then
Nah, you're right.
yeah, they're missing that. So like I've been teaching them, and the guys Amplifier and Soul have been picking it up a lot, but we've also had different top laner like swap in and out, different junglers swap in and out, and different support swap in and out. Is it?
I think he was playing top.
Yeah. Yeah, he played top. Because obviously he's an 80 carry main. I am not good with names. I'm really bad with them.
I try and forget him if he was my top laner too.
No, he's like he's alright, but he's not a top laner. He's an 80 carry player.
I can't top.
But like
main top. Top.
Yeah, nah, not with how. Yeah, nah.
Yeah, nah. Just
yeah,
won't go there. Okay.
Yeah, it just won't. Yeah. I know I've been playing League for like since season 8 really. I've been playing, so that's like 6 years now.
Oh,
this will be the 7th year.
Yeah.
Which
that's season
like
6.
No, we're on
13.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you said 7 years, that's season
6.
Okay,
yeah. All right, so then 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm in the 6th year of playing League.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a CS:GO player before that, and was LEM. If anyone knows what that is,
You moved from one violent relationship to the next.
Yeah, I really did. I moved from I was in Queensland for 8 months with like good internet, and I was able to peak in CS:GO. Moved back to Victoria, lost my computer in shipping for like 2 months. Was stuck on a MacBook, and all my friends in that time switched from playing like other games into League of Legends. So like that's when I was just learning it.
Yeah.
Or like I played a little bit at the time, but I was mostly playing like CS still. And then like I just lost all my muscle memory and gameplay in CS to the point that I couldn't go back to it. Or I just got too frustrated when I played. Yeah. And I remember the level that I was at, and then the level that I was playing at was nowhere near it, and it just it just made me really upset so much that I
Yeah,
couldn't get better.
I feel that, right? Like you take
I'm sure we feel that now in League as well. Like we see our peaks, like our near diamond or like high plat peaks, and then we're like stuck in gold at the moment. It's like, man, this feels
not
terrible.
stuck. I just haven't played.
Yeah.
Um,
Your show, whatever you say goes.
someone clip that. Oh wait, that's me. um, nah, yeah, it's a weird one, right? Because you always look back on your past, and everything changes, right? Like I had a dynasty in Iron to Gold back in the day.
Mm,
Then Iron to Gold gets demolished. It becomes Iron to Plat. It's a lot harder to win because
yeah.
obviously you got a lot more higher skilled players, and then you do get onto a roster that is capable of winning. And if you don't win, especially when you're like someone who like trash talks as much as I do,
Mm.
or used to, right? I don't do it much anymore, but when I did, it was always, you talk first, you think about what you said after.
Yeah, you think about the consequence of what you said
Yeah,
while you're
losing the
winning or
game.
losing.
Yeah,
You're probably mostly losing, and it's
it
like,
was
oh,
it was always
yeah, maybe
losing.
I shouldn't have said that.
And then someone like hits you up and is like, "Didn't you say you're gonna win that tournament game?" And I was like, "Probably."
Apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like that's why I respect people who I don't like the people who only talk after the game.
Mm.
I respect the people who, if you're gonna talk, you have to talk before, right? Because then you at least put it on the line. And like if it goes badly, you have to wear it, right? I called G Bear a bad mid laner. I still stand by that, right? And then I lost to him, and then it's like, well, I
That
lost.
means you're a bad mid laner.
Ah, everybody else would probably agree with you by now, right? But like if I was to not say anything, win the game, and then start shit talking to him, he's like, I've already knocked him out, and now I'm just kicking the body,
Yeah.
And I don't mess with that with people. It's
Yeah, I can understand that. I think it's also like I'm an incredibly competitive person by nature. I'd say you are as well, probably. That's why you have the urge to compete, or when
yeah,
you did. Maybe this died down a lot. Mine's still there. It never leaves. I compete in everything that I do, and then that, especially when you get good at something, you
yeah,
take a break, you come back to it. That comparison of how good you were, you're now competing against yourself,
yeah. You're shadow
and when you
boxing.
can't, yeah, when you can't beat yourself, it really knocks you down, and then it's like it's kind of like the trash talking thing as well. Like you trash talk someone, you beat someone, it's good. You lose to them, you get beat up. Like you shit talk them after you beat them, it's not as good. You compare yourself to where you were
Yeah,
versus where you are now. The things that you used to be able to do, you used to be able to say. It's like you this. I'm not sure how it is for everyone else. Might just be me, but it's this internal struggle
yeah,
of like getting past an ego and getting past that internal trash talk of like, man, I used to get 10 CS a minute every game. I'm so shit. But then there's also like the other side of it. The game changes, or if we're talking about League,
meta changes.
meta changes, playstyle change, champion shift, the skill bracket that you're playing in changes.
Yeah,
So like there's a lot of room where I think like certain people can take it easier on themselves, and then yeah, I just like
well,
so some people are like really hard on themselves and they can never grow out of
yeah.
that stuff. And
I find, especially for me, because the scene got so stale, right?
mm,
Like, especially again, this is going back to the Iron to Gold days. And when it was extremely stale, it was like the only teams up the top were whatever Alpha was calling themselves at the time, whether it was MCOM,
yeah,
Carnivorous, WKW, right?
yeah,
And then there was like my team, and then like Stormwolves, right? And then like you got that was like the top tier, and then the second tier you'd have like teams falling off, teams picking up. They were very streaky, but the teams at the
mm.
top were like very stable, and it was like just
Yeah,
beating
I
them
think it's
over and
because you
over
didn't
again.
rotate players
Yeah,
and everyone had the same or an equal want to play or
yeah,
drive to play, and you had the right pieces in the right spots as well.
Yeah.
Whereas like I think low tier teams or mid tier teams, the biggest issue is not everyone wants it the same amount.
Yeah.
Like I want it so much that I wake up and think league. I eat breakfast and think league. I'm at work thinking league. I'm not kidding. Like it's
Yeah.
bad. It's like a fucking addiction. It's terrible. I'm trying to take a break from the game, and me taking a break from the game is me playing on my Smurf account instead
Yeah.
of my main, because like so I'm putting in hours and hours and hours constantly, and then like there are other people that are like, I don't like playing X type of champion even though they're meta, so I'm just gonna keep playing the same dog shit champion that I'm
Yeah.
playing right now. And
I'm gonna kneecap my
l-
team, right? By
yeah,
not willing to
yeah.
play it.
And when you
I'm
get
notorious for
5
that.
people that want the same thing, that will put in all the same effort,
Yeah.
I think that's when a team is good. The players don't necessarily have to be good. It's the same drive from all the players
Yeah.
that will make them good. They will fix mistakes. It's not passively winning or playing or learning. It's a conscious, active decision to pay attention to the mistakes that you make
Yeah.
and then improve on them in the next game. That
I
comes from an internal drive.
I agree, but if your team is losing, it's so much harder to keep that drive because all you do is you notice mistakes, and especially I was bad for it. I'm not as bad anymore, right? Because you gotta fix yourself before you can fix others. But
Mm.
like when you're like, for instance, if you win your lane, even if it's only like tiny, but your top lane is like 0-4, you just tilt off the fact that he's ran it down. Especially when you come to like a low elo game where you think, oh, we should have won this game. It's like, but my top laner, messed it up for us, and like
Yeah,
you
it's like
lose
all you
game
had to
over
do
game.
was not die
Yeah,
for me to win. You didn't have to do well. You just had to not in.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I
yeah.
get that.
But
But
like game over game over game, that's why I think like especially the teams at like the bottom of the standings, unless you guys were like really good friends or like you joined up as a 5 stack and it wasn't an org putting people people together. Those are the teams that you'd see heaps of shuffling
mm.
because it's like, well, no, you're not
Well,
as
it's
good as I
band-aid
am.
patches, right?
Yeah,
They're not looking for real solutions. They're not trying to teach the players. They're just like, man, the top laner keeps dying over and over again. Get him out, get someone else in.
yeah,
They don't look at why.
yeah,
Because maybe the play style of that top laner, he's an aggro player, but you're always playing through bot lane, so of course he's gonna die, right? Get a defensive player or teach him how.
yeah,
So I think player shuffling is like an issue. It gets rid of consistency in teams, but also at the same time, sometimes personalities just don't match.
yeah,
So like someone's got to come out, someone's got to come in, as you said, which like that usually isn't an issue when the 5 players join as friends, regardless of an org putting them together.
yeah,
Which I think that's probably why like Alpha did so well for a while, because
yeah.
like they hung out outside of the game, played other games
They,
together.
yeah, they
They
came
like
in
were mates.
before the org, right? Like,
Yeah, and
and
they were the
then
same 5 players between orgs. I mean, what like they occasionally swapped
excluding
out.
top
Was it
laner,
like
right?
limit for Pixie at one point?
Yeah,
But like, and then like more recently they swapped out their bot lane. But like, um,
but their bot lane is like
the new
notoriously
bot
like
lane
top
is like
score.
just as good friends. I think.
Yeah,
Like
because
they know each other really well.
they were also like on one of the old AGC teams,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
back in the day. So like even the roster now, outside of maybe B and like Pixie,
Mm.
right? Because I think B's still in that roster. But
I don't know. I
I've
haven't.
not seen
There's not been enough tournaments to like keep
to
up
know
and pay attention to
who's where.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. But yeah, like that roster, that core was like has been together for like, uh, they've shuffled like a couple people. They've moved in like
Mm.
Vortor. They've Limit's been in the roster sometimes. I
I was on the
think
roster for a bit.
we weren't gonna go into your darkest days, but like
Oh.
not yet.
I mean, I enjoyed my time there. Actually, I think there was some of the better stuff. Was not my best, but I
Yeah,
enjoyed it a lot. I learned some important things there. On how to like navigate talking to players and like talking to a person
yeah.
more. That
It
was an eye-opening experience there. because that's why I like got removed from the roster was like an altercation that happened that I didn't understand about that. Now that I look back at it and realize some stuff, I was like, oh, I see now why.
Yeah.
So that was something that like that's helped me as a person totally outside of League of Legends. That was like, oh wow, that was good. But like it sucked at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very rough, right? Like I used to be a team hopper, right?
Mm,
Like it was like something didn't work, bam, I was gone in like 3 weeks, right?
yeah.
Um, and like that was partly me, and partly because of the like again, this is gonna sound massively ego, but because of like my status in at least Iron to Gold, where it was like
Mm,
where it was if I do not win, it is a failure, you know? Right?
yeah.
Because that's the expectation I put on myself and
Yeah,
on my
that
teammates.
self expectation, that really high level of like lack of failure, like this needs to be at
Yeah,
least like okay, maybe if you weren't winning, it could have been possible if you were like second place or trading first and second with some other good team.
yeah,
Like I'm sure you would have been able to cope with that. But
yeah.
like
First round
consistently like
exits, right?
fourth or fifth first
Yeah,
round exits, not enough for you, not good enough. Something's got to change. Which like I think that's a fair
yeah.
like when you have
Especially
been high enough, I think that's fair like
because
criticism.
I think the roster I remember the most for this is I just come off of the MCOM gap stuff, right?
Mm,
And that was like arguably still is like my peak of like the roster I've been on. Admittedly, there was like some issues with Hirogi. Knew nothing at the time personally, right? Looking back, because like you're in the honeymoon phase where you don't want to look at the problems or like the thing that might be suspicious, right?
mm,
Because you're winning, right? And
yeah,
especially when you like, I myself, I cared so much about that like winning, right? Because I'd been in such a drought before that.
yeah,
And like I came in, we won, like we set that Rift Royale tournament on fire, right? Like we dropped hardly any games.
mm,
Um, Admittedly, the format was probably a little iffy, but anyway, it's not a discussion for that. But and then team disbanded, technically disbanded. However, I ended up being the only player who wasn't still in the team, and then they had Michael come in. So like when like the consensus was the team was disbanding, I was slightly hurt by that. If we're being like honestly truthful, it's like, bro, I role swapped from mid lane, arguably the best role in the game. No offense, any other lanes that people play, but arguably mid lane's always been treated the best.
well,
I
at
role
least at the
swapped.
time, it definitely was.
I role swapped into AD carry,
Mm,
right? And my team, because this is into the alpha lane, which, Sparky Shiny, they were the destroyers of Iron to Gold,
yeah,
right?
like you
Like,
fucked up, you made mistakes, like you got punished.
yeah. So I swapped Nay swapped into jungle from AD. We got rid of
Arguably upgrade for no.
yeah, we got rid of Arcane. Like we put him on the bench because he was having issues into that team specifically, right? We picked up Sai.
This was just before Lo-Fi, I think.
Might have been, and
Yeah, because I know
then
because Arcane came to Lo-Fi after that.
yeah, and
Mm,
then Trash Can moved into mid lane, right?
yeah,
And because the issue with Nay and Arcane, and I've said this to Nay so many times, and to Arcane, they just had that nameplate, right? And it was like it's shiny Sparky,
yeah,
and like that happens to people, right?
yeah.
Even down here,
Arcane
it
definitely
happens.
had that. I think more than Nay. Nay probably could have gotten over it, or
Yeah,
like I think it was yeah, Arcane definitely had that problem because we that was something we worked on specifically in Lo-Fi because he was my support for a while.
yeah,
Like I think that was one of my strongest points was when it was me and him playing
yeah. He
a
was he
bunch.
was insane.
Yeah, no, he was a really good player. His retention of information
Yeah,
was nuts to me. Like knowing because this is before timers were in the game. Like knowing jungle camp timers,
yeah,
um having flash timers, having ultimate timers of different like champions,
yeah,
like just known based on what items they had. He was like, oh, Karthus, he's got like Leandru Zonias and like CDR boots. It's this timer, and
yeah.
we're like,
Or it's
whoa,
roughly this timer, right? Like
yeah. He was like
approximately.
10-second margin of error,
Yeah,
and he was like on it a lot. He was very good at that, but he wasn't the strongest laner. that was
Yeah.
his sort of downside. And for me as well, not being the strongest laner as well, it was like we struggled into lane dominant teams
Yeah,
a lot.
such as the Shiny Sparky, which they were famous for
Yeah,
Caitlyn Morgana, right? Like
yeah,
that was their thing, right? So
yeah.
when
But to be fair, I think we after some specific, because I can remember Johnny sat us down one time, and he was like,
I remember him, yeah,
"Yeah, Johnny the goat," and he was like, "Yeah, look, you guys do this perfectly every single time, but as soon as you come up against these guys, like it all just falls apart. Why is it? Why is that?" And then that we sort of just were like, "Oh man, look, they're these guys. They're the guys to beat.
yeah,
They don't make mistake." And then he literally like slowed down the game, and it was like, "Look, this is any other team. You just like flash on them and kill them or something."
yeah. You
And
don't
like,
give them
but you
that
just
same
don't.
respect, yeah,
Yeah, he was like, you respect them too much. Then he got us to do a bunch of 2v2s against the like higher plat, like almost diamond bot lane in lo-fi, because we had two main divisions.
yeah,
And he was like, play disrespectful. Just kill them. Just do it. Drop 20 CS, kill them. So we did, and it worked. And then after that, Shiny and Sparky weren't really a problem.
yeah,
Like we didn't beat them in lane always, but it was like it was from there onwards, it was 50-50 games. It was like really solid.
yeah.
Um
I didn't have a problem when I played them either, but
mm,
I did play the entire style of I will forfeit this lane to you, right? Like you guys can
yeah.
have that Caitlyn Morgana. We'll just play Tristana Nautilus, and like I
Mm,
will forfeit this lane, right? And then Nay's giving Jip so many problems in that jungle matchup to
mm,
the point where it's just like, because Jip's entire style was limit goes on an island, he comes and like ruins the bot lane, right?
yeah.
But because I had Hirogi was putting limit into the dumpster. Nay was just constantly like being that like little like bee flying around Jip, like bugging him the
Yeah.
entire game.
Being a
And so
complete
like,
ass.
and then Trash Cam was having some alright games. He did get solo killed by G a bit, but you know
Mm,
he was doing alright. Um, and so all I had to do was just not die. Just don't run it down. I can go down 20, 30 farm if I have to.
mm.
Just be useful when the game goes later.
Yeah, see, that was my issue, is that because we didn't have a good jungler for the longest period.
Yeah.
Nor do we have anyone else that would consistently carry or like perform well. So I felt I didn't have that luxury of I can forfeit my lane and be useful later, because if I do that, everyone else is like 0-3. So it
Yeah, and
doesn't,
you'll
like, I
just bleed
have
out.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I held myself to that. I still hold myself to that a lot of the time, especially
Yeah.
when I'm in a team that's like a bit like lower end,
Dodgy.
or someone
Dodgy.
doesn't. Yeah, when we don't have one other star player or like
Yeah.
consistent, like bam, I'm winning lane every game. It's like that's I often end up putting that pressure on myself, which
Yeah.
makes me just play terribly. Like it's
Yes,
bad.
I agree with
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I've
I'm a
I've had
sucker for
some
putting it onto myself and just inting games because of it.
I've had some
Um,
horrendous games because of that.
yeah. But then the one tournament, or oh no, I can't remember. It might have been one of the ECB tournaments.
Yeah.
I think it was. It was before Lo-Fi sort of like lost its grouping. Uh, the gold team, which I was playing on, we came like third and went out, but that was like the best performance we had.
Yeah.
And the plat team had gone up into semis. The 80 carry tops couldn't make the first game of the night because we were playing
Yeah.
best of threes. So Johnny was like, "Hey, can you fill in?" We played the first game and beat their bot lane in a way that like Tups just wasn't able to. Because Tups is a super aggro player, but he would like go like 10-3, but like no CS, never take tower.
Yeah.
And then we went like 0-0-0, tower 3 dragons, and like perfect CS.
It's a
And then
different
he was
kind of like domination.
yeah, completely. And we like it wasn't just we didn't kill them at all, not once.
Yeah.
they didn't get to touch our tower or take minions. They were down like 40, 50 minions.
Yeah. The
And
score
then he
doesn't
was
look
like,
sexy, but
yeah, yeah. But it was efficient and it was
yeah.
pretty ruthless, to be honest. They were down like 3 levels. So then Johnny just kept me in for that. We ended up winning that tournament on the plat team.
Yeah.
And because that was when Adrian was playing up in plat at that point. And it was also, I felt comfortable just going for CS leads. Because in that team, our top jungle and our mid laner were really, really good. Oh man, I feel bad that I can't remember their names.
It's alright. It was ages
But
ago.
I still sort of talk to him. He was the same jungler that I got to fill in for WKW for a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, but like no, really, really nice guys, really good players, really solid laners. It was like Obama ate my KFC. I'm pretty sure was our top laner's name.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I know the guy.
Like yeah.
I know.
You know who I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, like
don't think I ever
yeah,
played
so
with him, but yeah.
yeah, really good solid players that I felt comfortable just like just farming
Yeah, you don't
and
have to win
being
the game, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, it gave me that comfort to just do whatever
yeah,
and let them pop off and it did and it worked. And yeah, we ended up winning that and I was like, damn, that's when I think of my competitive peak was like
yeah,
those games.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've had maybe like one or two like peak games, and
Mm.
those like because the game that comes to mind is I sign up for a free agents team. Notoriously, I hate free agents teams because, like, no
Yeah.
offense, but you get either I end up having to play with someone who I have a history with who, we don't really like see eye to eye, or you get the players who are like the one tricks and the people who you ban that one champion, they do nothing the entire game.
Mm.
I was on this was Iron to Gold free agents team, and I myself was playing mid. I think I was gold 3, gold 4 at the time, because I didn't actually climb like into the high golds and sit there. I
Yeah,
stayed
see,
gold 4 and
I
then hit
was
T4.
hard stuck gold 4 as well
Yeah,
when I won the plat tournament because I was like, yeah, I don't know, I just couldn't climb in ranked,
yeah.
couldn't win anything. But like when we played competitively, the
It was
slower style of
different.
games,
Yeah,
so much like that's what I was practicing. Wasn't practicing solo queue games. Was practicing
yeah,
like slow controlled tournament games.
yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
I signed up for free agents team. I had a gold 1 jungler who turns out I actually knew who it was, but because he had like 17 different accounts, right?
Yeah, no idea at the time.
Like he was actually still like eligible to play.
Mm.
Then we had an iron top laner and a bot lane who one of them named Garen, one of them named Yumi, but they were like
Yeah.
both like bronze players. And like
Yeah.
when you sign up to free agents, unfortunately that's what you get,
Yeah.
right? And it is what it is. I kind of just wanted to play, right? Like if I decided I was playing maybe like 3 hours prior, I would have actually found a roster. Like I would have made a team or something. So signed up, played the game. Now, because this ended up tying into like my power rankings when I did the tournament I didn't play in. I can't remember what it's called. I think it was the BSV one where like Kraken got DQ'd at one point. But I kid you not, we play below 0 in the first round, which was like Orion and heaps of other names I can't actually remember. And like I put them down like by myself. Like Lucian mid, it was like a 17-2 game or something. And so I was like, well, if you can't actually just beat one person beating you up, you go into a team where the teams aren't actually as bad as that, like collectively, you're gonna get last place.
Yeah.
We ran into Stormwolves the next round and they camped my top laner, and
Yeah.
game was over. But I think that was like my pop off game, you know, where you have to carry that game if you're me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, it definitely yeah, just the stress of ever being in those situations is like definitely like there's some people that can just like take that stress
and some people
and
can't.
it doesn't show on their gameplay. And then there's someone like me that like I start making stupid decisions. Like I remember, like I got railed for doing this on WKW, and rightfully so. They were all right. I like just flashed forward on Vayne into like 3 people and
You
like
died.
killed myself, and because of that, we couldn't take Baron or towers.
Yeah.
And
You
like,
did a double lift, but used flash.
yeah, no, it was like really egregiously horrendous, and like Pixie tore me a new asshole for that, and like he should have, but it was just like because I wasn't used to being on a team that where people were consistent or like people
Yeah.
were reliable. Like as I said, I had that small stint where I played with the Plat team in Lo-Fi where they were consistent and good, but like I hadn't played for ages. That was that whole like year and a half where I hadn't touched competitive. Came into sub for a bit. For Shiny, played with Sparky. Jep had just stopped playing, so we didn't really have a jungler for a while.
Yeah.
Then yeah, there was Pixie and G-Bear. And then yeah, like I was just making dumb fucking decisions because I was like, man, I want to prove myself to be like the the new goat. Like I
The
was
guy
like,
who
yeah,
can fill those shoes, right? Like,
yeah. Like I think like shiny Sparky, and then I'm like, and Collat stepping in
that
to fill.
reputation is
Yeah,
huge.
dude, that's massive. And I fumbled it so badly. It was a combination of that as well as during like champ select. So I'm not sure if like I have ADHD and I've sort of known, but like my actual knowledge of the like
The condition.
disability, yeah, condition,
Yeah.
thank you. Knowledge of the condition, I've only really just started to understand like the last 2 years.
Yeah.
As well as like how deeply it affects me and how different I am to other people. Has only like I've only really just started to comprehend it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't shut up at all during like champ select or like draft or anything. That like someone would ask a question, I'd answer for other people. And it was like, I now start to understand, damn, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But like, no one told me, hey, Collat, shut the fuck up. Until one day, Pixie just lost his mind and was like, shut the fuck up. And then just muted me.
That's actually quite a pixie
And then
statement.
just
Yeah.
like, and then like told someone else, like, I don't want to, I'm assuming this part. I'm assuming he told someone that he didn't want to play with me anymore because, from that point, someone was like, "Oh, hey, we're splitting the team into 2, and Pixie G Bear are gonna be here, and you're gonna be playing with Maddie and like, like Nut and
B.
like, no, this is before B was playing.
Yeah.
This is just before we found B as a jungler for them.
Well, you shouldn't have found
So
them, but continue.
I mean, B's alright sometimes. I've never had problems with B, but yeah, I think that's because I don't like attack his ego or have an ego to
I
be
do.
attacked too much. Yeah, I know that's why you have problems. But like, yeah, like he just fucking like lost it, and then they split the teams, and we barely had enough players to make one team,
Yeah.
and
Let
then
alone 2.
they were like, let's split them into 2, and then we had to find subs for, and then both teams were just shit in the bed constantly.
Yeah.
And it was also at the time where like bot lane wasn't great, to just play. It was like mages was the thing bot lane.
I love the
But it
mages,
required
bot lane.
yeah, it also required a certain style of gameplay to play those 80 carries that like Maddie didn't know how to do it. And then someone was like, "Yeah, you just have to teach her." And I'm like, "Man, I don't want to teach them how to do this. I want to
Yeah.
play. Like, I'm not here to coach." And then Nay was like, "Yeah, you just got to teach him." And I was like, I understand what he was saying. He was right. Like, if I wanted to win, I would have had to teach them. But
I
I just wanted to play. And then
I
I just
kinda sorry to cut you off.
no, go.
I don't think that's a you job. That's a coaching staff job.
Yeah, but see, we didn't have one either. Or
So
okay, we did. We had like we sort of had one in what was to be like Nova, and like
yeah,
he was supposed to be coaching, but Nova's got like problems.
yeah.
And
We won't go
actually, he
into
was
that.
the one who told me that like we're splitting, or like, yeah, I don't want you playing here, or like we're playing this. And he was like, yeah, you didn't hear it from me, but Pixie doesn't want to play with you. But then he also didn't tell me why. And I literally told him, I was like, hey, oh, he said some shit about like I'm not receptive to feedback, or I don't want to change. And I'm literally here like, hey, you haven't told me what's wrong.
Yeah.
And if you do, I will work my ass off to fix it
I will
right
try,
now.
right? Like,
I will try. I will make sure I fix it. And if you help me, I'm willing to help. And he was like, no. And just said no because I'm not receptive and like with no reason. I don't know. No was a
it's hard, right?
yeah.
Because you always get the whispers, and
Mm,
like I'd heard little bits and pieces, but again, it's not my place, right?
mm,
Sometimes it's just better to move on peacefully,
yeah.
which I'm learning to do. I used to just blow it all up, just make the fireworks as you walk out the
It's
door.
yeah, it's hard. It's hard to just like have a situation go not right or not the way you want it to.
Yeah,
And instead of like, because I hate that, I want to fix every situation. Like
yeah,
I obsess. Oh, that's the OCD, like OCPD, obsessive compulsive, obsess compulsive. I need to fix the situation. I need to I need to make sure that they like me again. I need to make sure I
yeah,
haven't hurt their feelings. And it's like they didn't care. They just didn't want to play. Pixie just doesn't care.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
like he's not butthurt over it. He doesn't give a fuck. He just said fuck off. And that's enough for him. And
yeah,
I'm sitting here like it's in my fucking head. I couldn't get over it. Like
yeah,
I just want like my intentions were good, but it was just like he just didn't care. So I was like
yeah,
and that was the hard lesson that I had to learn, like the life lesson. It was like, man, sometimes people just don't want to fix the problem. They're happy with there just being a problem and them separating.
yeah,
And I was like, yeah, wow,
yeah.
okay,
Not all problems have to be fixed, right?
yeah,
Like there are some which do, but some which it's just easier not to.
mm,
Um, but yeah, it's a rough one. So let's change to a light-hearted topic,
yeah,
right? Because I wanna see what you say to this, right? So
hmm
the next thing on my list is first time meeting Envy slash thoughts on him.
um, okay. So when I started playing, I got my friends to play tournaments,
Yeah,
and my friends are like bronze, silver players. So was I. um, and had no idea of anything competitive. They aren't competitive people. They didn't care whatsoever. They only played
for
because I
fun.
said, "Look, we're playing norms every night anyway. Why don't we play against other people? It'll be fun. It's competitive." And then like we got rolled a couple games, and then I tried to improve on it and learn and stuff, and like they just didn't give a shit, and they just
Yeah,
like stopped playing after like 3 or 4 weeks. And that was when I saw the names Sparky, Shiny, Jetman, Envy. Like that's when I first saw those names, like on different teams. And there were these announcements like Envy and the Apes is back defending their third
yeah,
title. And I was like, man, this guy must be insane. This guy must be like the GOAT. And like if he's winning and I was like, I need to beat him. I
yeah,
need to get on a team. I need to know people. I need to beat him because he's the guy to beat. I like by the time I figured out a lot more and like started playing not at silver because I was still silver at the time. By the time
yeah,
I got to like low gold and started to understand how the game works a bit, I realized that like you hadn't been just the goat. There were other people that moved around, and there was that top three people shuffling,
yeah.
and then rosters changing. And then I met you in a in OC.
OC in houses.
Yeah, OC in houses. Um, and it was like I think we were on a team. Yeah, on the same team, just playing, and it wasn't like you didn't know who I was. I didn't know who. Like I knew of you,
Yeah,
but I didn't like make it known. And it
I
wasn't
probably ran you
like
down. Let's be honest.
it wasn't too bad. It was like no, I think I had started playing on MCOM at that point, just a little bit.
Yeah,
And you were like, "Oh yeah, you play for MCOM," and then I got like shit talked by a bunch of people because I didn't know why. And then like MCOM was like being laughed at or something as well. And this is literally the start. Like
yeah,
again, not many people know I was one of the first MCOM players. like period. Like Razy just made it, and he was like, "Yeah, come play." He found me in solo queue.
Ah, yes, I want those like gold accounts.
I was
Yeah.
the like fourth player that said yes, like period, bar none. And then he got a bunch of other players. It was like really quickly went from like no one to he had like 20 people playing.
Yeah.
And then putting us through teams and stuff. And then he said a bunch of shit like, "Oh, you're a really good player, but you should teach these players, and I'll put you with these young players, and you teach them to be better and stuff." And like you train them and whatnot. And then I like tried playing with them, and that's when what was that fucking kid's name who had the
Snooker, Mercy.
yeah Snooker and Mercy. Yeah, like I was
Snooker's
playing with
diamond, by
them.
the way.
Is he now?
Yeah. He's
Snooker
diamond.
was decent, but like he just had a fucking ego on him for a kid.
Yeah.
And like wouldn't listen. Which like of course he was 13 and he was decent in a video game. Why would he listen to anyone? Right?
Yeah,
He's
fuck no.
like of course. And like same with Mercy. Yeah, and then Razy was trying to tell me to teach them how to work in the team and not just be like solo queue players. And I was like, me myself also not knowing correctly how to,
Yeah.
not knowing how to teach whatsoever, having heaps of problems. Like that was just an absolute shit show. And then yeah, like I got bullied in OC in houses for playing for MCOM and playing with the kids, the squeakers, because they get muted every game. And then I
I
was on your
think
team, and I think Snooker was top, and you and Snooker were like shit talking each other and fighting the entire time.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
it
yeah.
would have been you and Mercy. It was you and one of them, and I was on your team, and I was like, "Can you guys both shut the fuck up and put your egos up your asses and just play the goddamn game?" And then like both of you were like, "Who the fuck?"
Who
Or
the
like you
fuck
were
is
just like,
this
"Who the
guy?"
fuck is this guy?"
Yeah.
And then that was like our first time. And then there was like this for the next like year and a half, 2 years, there was this polarizing like we weren't friends, but we didn't hate each other.
Yeah.
But like we didn't hang out a bunch, and then your jokes hit pretty dry, and then I just didn't respond to a lot of things because I didn't want to be. I also looked at you and like, oh, your ego's fat, and people give you shit for it.
Yeah.
I'm just never gonna speak. I
Yeah.
was gonna do the opposite of anything that you did. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
say
No
something here,
ego,
I'm
right?
not
Yeah.
gonna say it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
say
yeah.
something before a game, I'm not gonna say anything. You win a game in an emote, never gonna do that. Anything you did, I was like, not gonna do it. And then like over time, like your ego started to die down a bit. I
I
started to
started
like
losing. Yeah.
yeah, you started losing. I started to build a little bit of an ego to like be a bit more confident. People were
Right.
like, "Oh, you can shit talk a little bit. You can do this." And I was like, "Okay, okay." And then over time, I started to realize that like your jokes are jokes because they felt dry, and
Yeah.
because we didn't know each other too much, they felt like genuine insults. Especially
Yeah.
me not knowing how to read people. Like I'm really bad at that. And then yeah, over time I started to learn like, oh, you'd like your intentions aren't bad. Your jokes are just a little dry. And then I was like, oh no, this guy's like he's alright. He's not as bad as everyone says. It's like
Yeah.
you're polarizing as fuck as a personality.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like some people just look at you like, nah, I can't do it.
Fuck this
He
guy.
says
Yeah.
too much, he's too loud, big of a mouth, like which is like it's fine. That's like their prerogative. They don't have to like you. But yeah, I don't know. That was like the first. That was like the start. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah,
I
and then
remember.
there was just more talking over time.
Yeah, I remember playing into some of the lo-fi teams, and unfortunately, it was when you guys were like running those like silver players on the gold roster,
Yes,
and like so I knew Wicked through
yeah, we could have been around for a while.
one of like BSV Josh's like friends who was
Yeah,
a streamer.
yeah,
He ran into him in solo queue, started hosting him. So I knew Wicked like slightly through that before he started playing. And then
Yeah.
it was like every single time, unfortunately, I feel like I was Wicked's
he
like
got
boogeyman, right? Like
gapped. Yeah.
like he would play me and it's like nothing goes right in that game,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it was just
Yeah.
like it would happen every time.
Yeah, and
Whereas-
that was also we had our top laner was like a
Crispus?
Maokai Scion 2-trick. Who?
Crispus?
No.
One of Wicked's friends? No.
No. And this was like the start. This was early lo-fi because I didn't make the original cut, but then
Yeah.
Johnny opened up for like slightly more players, so I was the first extra player to come in
Yeah.
in that. or like the second. And that's when we ran technically a 10-man roster. We had 2 top jungle, mid, support, and AD. It was me and Cerulean were both ADs.
Oh,
Um,
Cerulean. Yo, he used to stream.
yeah, yeah. He hit Challenger in TFT. And then like he's just like disappeared.
Yeah.
He's just stopped playing like League. And then yeah, we had Burke and Sefu. Sefu was the top laner. Sefu's a really, really nice guy. He's also from NZ. He's just accounting or some shit. Yeah, he just played Sion or Maokai only every game.
Look, I would.
And so he was our tank player. And then Burke was our Aurelia Fiora, like
Yeah.
bruiser boss. And Burke like got really good. And then Burke left to play contenders in Overwatch. Like semi-pro, like really high level Overwatch. He was playing
Yeah.
in NA in like top level games from OS with like 250 ping on DPS. Like playing hit scan McCree at 250 ping, beating people. I was like, holy shit, this guy's nuts.
Yeah.
So he left us to play that. And that's when we sort of had that transitional into like a silvers, golds, and plat team, where I was in the gold team, but then played in the plats for a little bit.
Yeah, if they
Cerulean,
needed you.
yeah. It was Tups was that, and then Adrian went up. We had Nut, so my right Nut Hussein, he was playing.
Yeah.
And that's where Yoman and Amar and yeah, all the other like the plat players and yeah, like it is all starting to come back to me. And we had Wix who ended up getting his account boosted back to Diamond. So he had to oust himself or leave the org. He didn't oust himself, so he left the org. Because like it was almost right accounted org. And then we had Sebi who was coaching as well. And
I don't think Sibi likes me.
we don't talk about Sebi at all anymore. Don't worry about it.
Can I give you a funny story?
No, do not talk about Sebi on this at all. Trust me, I'll tell you later.
Nah, fuck it. No.
Oh,
It's a fun story. This is back from like my first couple games in in-house. So I laned into Lysa, right? Now Grandmaster player. At the time I think he was Diamond. And then Sibi was the enemy jungler. He locked in Nidalee and well, he might have been enemy AD in the first game. Right? I played Malzahar into Lysa Z. I did fucking nothing the entire game but one. Just started like ego boosting, like shit talking Sibi, who was, you know, like Diamond player at the time. And like he was like Q up again, right? So Q'd, played mid again, played just as passive, and all I see is these Nidalee spears always at my lane. Right? Because he was just going for me. And I was like
yeah.
Just laughing because I was a silver 2 player at the time and it was hilarious for me.
Was that in the in-house game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember Sebi coming into occasional in-house games and like that stuff was happening.
Yeah, it was super
like
fun
that didn't
to, like,
stop at any point. It's just anytime he saw you, he was
Yeah, it was fun for me because it's like, you know, you're getting eaten by a silver player.
That's why you weren't able to join Lo-Fi.
Did I try and join Lo-Fi?
Yeah, you did.
Oh fuck! I've been on every org at least one point.
Yeah.
Except WKW.
And also Jep tried to join at one point. This is just before they started playing with WKW as well.
Yeah.
And I was so like, because we played a single elimination, like a single night tournament. This is just before ECB started the 10-week
the ladder, yeah.
Ladder. There was a single night tournament we played with Jep filling in instead of our jungler. And we won that one like never before. And I was like, yeah, I've known Jep for a little while at this point. I was like, he's a good guy. And then Johnny's like, nah, he's affiliated with some people that have said something about a woman that was like some really bad stuff. So we can't have him join.
Oh, yeah. It's the Britney stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Because because Johnny was friends with Britney or something, or there was some friendship related, and she just basically shitbagged Jet when Jet like never did anything himself. It was just the people around him or whatever. Yeah. From what I understood of that situation specifically, it was that. Yeah. And Jeff was really trying to like fix his
reputation.
Like, image or reputation and be the better person.
Yeah.
And then he just wasn't given the chance. And I really fought for him to be able to have that spot, but unfortunately he wasn't given it, which I think sucks.
Yeah, I mean, but it happens,
Yeah.
right? I ended up getting bagged out for something I said, which, completely fair statement, but because my association with, some people,
Yeah.
I got bagged for it, and it's like I still don't talk to the people who bagged me out. Right?
Yeah, bagging by association, I think is, oh god, there's so much about all of that. Like,
It's
oh.
it's a rabbit hole, right? Like,
It's such a rabbit hole, and we probably shouldn't get into it.
you guys like the video, part two rabbit hole
Oh, we might do
discussions.
a part 2 after dark down the rabbit hole of,
We'll dim the
because
lights.
I think,
yeah.
okay, a hot take. Here's your hot take. Here's your hot take.
Here's my clip. Okay, I'm ready.
The drama from Britney, BSV, ECB, and what was it, TMG? The drama from the higher ups in those 3 orgs,
Yeah.
and the fact that someone got butthurt about comments made to them on the internet is the reason the OC underplayed scene's dead right now. It's all their fault, and I can correctly show why as well. I could prove it, to be honest. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. You can't.
There's parts which are wrong, unfortunately, because there's more. That is a layer, right? That's one layer.
I know there's
will
more
agree
of
that's
it,
one layer.
but like it's still felt today.
Yeah.
I heard someone bring it up the other day
Ugh.
in the
Why?
because it's still relevant. Because people have so fucked their orgs because of it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think if we're going back on on the train, we're not off the tracks. We're going back on the tracks.
There's your hot take. There's your clip.
I think that's one layer. I think the other layer would be the smurfing, and then because people are running into those smurfs, they're not actually wanting to stay in the scene.
Yeah, okay, but hang on. Who are the Smurfs, right? We know who they are, most of them. We knew the group that were.
Sandbaggers.
We knew the sandbag Smurfers. We know who they are. And you know their relationship with those people. And you know their relationship with the people that was at ECB and at BSV and the shit talking between them and the TMG staff. That is still the drama. The sandbaggers are part of that. So when I say it's the drama, that's still part of it, right? I think it's so connected. That's why they got away with so much of it, because they knew people, right?
I don't disagree. I agree there's heaps of biases, right?
Yeah,
but
and that's why it got.
I do. It's a weird one, right? Because I also know of, again, I think statute of limitations is gone, right? Like it's been ages. In my eyes, it's gone. Regardless of what I say, I'll take a bullet if someone gets mad at me, but who cares? I know Jip was banned from TMG, right? And then so they banned Britney from ECB, and then they horse traded it, right? Jip was unbanned from TMG, so Britney could be unbanned from ECB and play in it.
Yeah.
That was when she was on, which org was it? Era? I think it was Era. Or Revolt, one of the.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, because that's why Jep wasn't allowed to play for Lo-Fi, is because something known from that, like, Britney's influence affected Lo-Fi, and how we were running and who we were and weren't allowed to have, and she eventually was, like, it's a whole fucking spider web, man.
Yeah.
You pluck one thing and it lights up a bunch of different points. So like, it's
under
so
the table dealings and...
deeply rooted, connected between everything.
Yeah, like like there's like one Smurf, and it's this like this guy was hilarious, right? He played with like Elderidge and stuff. His name was 3131J. Dutchy.
That sounds
right. He on the 3131J account. He was playing mid. Right, and like he'd run into me because again every team like ran into me a lot, and like he would just lose, right? Then he started playing jungle and whatnot, and then suddenly this plat account, like this plat 4 player, started playing support for the plat team, and then obviously because some people are really stupid, someone was streaming, and someone had the stream open, and they were like, "Oh, are you playing on your gold account or your plat account tonight? You know, you playing on 31J or on Dutchy?" And it's like, bro, you just outed a guy who, because he didn't win anything on that gold account, no one fucking knew a thing, right? Because he like ran it down. He didn't win any games, because that's the only way a Smurf can get away with it, right? Is if they actually fucking suck. But yeah, so that was a fun one to unroot, and I just laugh at him because again, he played like a gold 4 player, like every tournament game, and it was like, oh, turns out he's plat, no difference.
Yeah, no, I definitely think there's like the difference between like Gold 1, Plat 4, which was most of the players were like between those two sort of ranks, wasn't
huge.
much. And like it's enough that it's a high enough skill gap that if it was like 4 plat players versus 4 gold players, yeah, I think it's like a 60-40 win rate.
Yeah.
Or like maybe even a bit more. But like I don't think it was it, but it's not enough to be like look at it and like, oh no, this guy's so much better than his current rank. He shouldn't, like, he's clearly smurfing, right?
I think there's only
it's not just like it's hard to tell by just looking.
Yeah, I think there's only been ever, I want to say 3 cases, right? And like I will name all of them right now because I don't care. Griff, right, back in the day, like I'm talking peak iron to gold Griff. This is probably before your time, but again, around that same time, Jetman, because I think Jetman, I don't think he fell off. I think his motivation fell off, but we'll discuss
100%.
that after I finish all the names.
Yeah.
And then I also think at the time, Ringreese, right, when Ringreese came back to like Iron to Play, he was just dumpstering people.
I've heard that name recently for some reason.
It's because he's currently sitting in like Gold 4. I think he's waiting for it to start back up, and then he's gonna try and play. But it's funny. But yeah, I always gave the analogy, right? And you know, if anyone ever like watches all these, they'll know my entire statement on Griff playing Iron to Gold was it fucking sucked the first like 4 times I landed into him. Right? I got my shit kicked in. But the way Griff played is he wasn't gonna kick my shit in by killing me. He was gonna dominate the CS game. He's like I go for a minion, I get hit. Right? And I'm getting punished in it. You know, I play him again and I still lose, but I don't lose as badly. Right? I go again, you know, it's not as bad as the second time. So over time I'm
the way he played against you, it actually teaches you fundamentals.
Yeah, you learn
because you got a chance to play and learn from those mistakes. You weren't just playing Gray Screen Simulator.
Nah.
Yeah, like you actually get to learn, like, oh, he can trade with me when I go for this cannon, so that means I need to do something else.
Yeah, or like I need to hit him back in return, right? Depending on the champions being played.
Yeah,
right?
like fundamental laning traits.
And like whereas like now, right? If I play that Gryffindor back then now, right? I think it's probably a lot like it's probably very even, right? Because of the players I had to play into, right? Especially like with Jep playing jungle, and like Jep was probably diamond level. He probably
I think the game is
the game,
so different right now though as well that I think that way of laning where you
still
punish
play the
people
same champions.
No, but like the way the game is played, how easily it is to obtain kills and like just solo kill someone as a form of punishment, and how non-punishing it is to just farm better than someone is like
it
almost makes that style of play not playable.
Yeah,
because that was my way of playing bot lane as well. It's like I as I said, I won't kill you a bunch. I won't be diving your tower. That's not how I like to play. But I'll get a 40 minion lead and a BF sword over you, and then I'll turn that into a team fight win. But like that's just why do that when you just die bot lane instead 3 times over and kill them and get an entire fucking item? Because that's so easy to do.
Yeah.
But that's current game stuff.
Yeah. So that was my entire like argument with. Do I think for the scene he should have played? No, because not everyone came in with that same mindset I did. right? Other people came
Yeah.
in, they got their shit kicked in, and then was like, well, "What's the fucking point of me playing?" And then they left.
Yeah,
Whereas
and that's what I was saying about people that are competitive by nature. People that are competitive by nature don't like to lose,
grinders,
and they'll do one of two things. They'll like give up, quit, and go play something else and get good at that,
yeah,
or they'll learn and get good and like become better until they can compete. And I think that when you're hosting, see, this is why I don't entirely agree with some of the takes about like the scene at the moment being like, oh yeah, Smurfs are bad for the game because it disheartens new people coming into the game, right?
I've said that one a
Well,
lot. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Which I don't disagree entirely, but I think it's like a vetting process almost. If you are like if you're like a silver bronze player, you come in and you get stomped by a diamond smurf playing on a gold account, right?
yeah,
That feels terrible. And yeah, you're not going to learn from that. But if you're coming in as a gold or low plat player, getting beaten by a diamond smurf on a plat account,
yeah.
and you're a really competitive person, as long as you're not getting stomped 0 and 10, I think you're going to want to stay more. And those are the people we want in. We don't
I think we
want.
want both
I think ideally we want both, but
if we had
like
to choose.
if we had to choose, who are we catering towards?
Yeah,
And again, this goes. Maybe my point's less valid because OC as a whole region isn't amazing. Because ideally, we want those more competitive people that learn, they get better, they start beating the Smurf, then they move up into a division, then they keep
yeah,
getting better because they got hooked early on, and then they keep going, and then they hit Masters, and then they play in collegiate or whatever it is.
so,
They play in some sock tournaments. They then try and make their way into OPL or LCO
LCO.
now, and then then we have better players at the top end.
Yeah,
And I think it starts by hooking them in with good games early. But like because there's no structure here, because the scene is so destroyed and dead, and it's we're building new buildings on the broken rubble of old buildings
yeah,
instead of cleaning the slate. And as I said, someone brought up the drama the other day, or like mentioned something, and so the drama from old is still being felt and still causing effects. That's why I think it's so hard to rebuild.
yeah.
But it's the solution is not easy. The solution is really difficult and requires such a mass collection of people with the self drive to fix the problem.
Yeah. I
But I'm not sure if we
also,
have that.
yeah, I think my like big issue with wanting to do anything is
Hmm.
you have the now
Well, you're
back.
connected to it all,
I'm
so
connected
it's
to everything most of the
so
time.
so so I almost think that you can't do it. You know what I mean? Because you're
Uh,
connected. It'd be
I
so hard for you to cut all your past drama and everything off and
I
start new.
I'm old enough to the. I personally think I'm old enough to like be a grown up and do it. If
Alright,
but
yeah,
here's my
you maybe, but other people.
yeah I'm
That's the thing. Everyone has to be on the same page to do
yeah.
it. You almost need no names to come in and do it. Because
Here's
like
my issue though.
someone will see Envy's running that. Oh, that means it's fucked up. Someone's got predetermined opinions about
Yeah,
you. And that means anything you touch, they will think a certain way about. So
yeah.
it's so hard to start
It's so hard
clean.
to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's my view, and
Hmm.
right, and I've had this view for like months now. And I'm not saying I was perfect back in the day either, right? I think I've discussed with many people I was not perfect.
Yeah, same.
Um,
Yeah.
but my big issue is now I don't accept the term of because I don't accept the term it's a volunteer, right? Like I'm volunteering, it means the product can be bad because I'm volunteering, I'm giving up my time. I don't let me
I
finish
think that's a
before you
cop out.
interrupt me, right? I
Yeah.
don't agree with that. But if you're running something and like the standard is good, right? The rules, if you are like having favorites in a tournament, right? And some people are getting hit by rules, but other people aren't getting hit by those rules. That's when it's an issue, and that's when it has to be addressed, right? But then you hit them with the, well, with volunteers, right? I think that's why, for instance, I stopped playing in the most recent tournament, right? The Battle of the Brainless, whatnot.
Battle of the
I was like,
Brainless.
fuck
Yep.
this, I ain't playing. And I was like, I ain't playing because I looked at some of the rosters, and again, I'm competitive, but why the fuck would I go into a tournament where they've got like ex-challenger players who are probably going to be allowed to play because they met the rank requirement based on last year, right? It's like
Yeah.
I don't. I think that's a stretch, but again, it's the we've had nothing for so long. Even that will eat.
So I think, yeah.
But then we've got. So yeah, I don't agree with like the whole I'm a volunteer, but you've also got like when BSV was running Rift Royale and whatever the one after that was with like the divisions. All it was all like bad
The divisions
PR,
were great.
right? Like it was nothing positive. It was all bad stuff, right? No one brought up any of the good things. It was all bad, and it's like you
Yeah,
start
I think
hitting people.
people shit talked it to death.
Yeah, you hit people in the head enough with that stuff. They're not gonna.
Yeah.
They have no motivation to do anything.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. That's probably why, because Josh was funding everything from his own pocket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he had like some sponsors on the stream, but like it was from him.
Yeah.
Right? Ubi sponsored the Coliseum, right? Like someone has to pay money to give to people. And all you're doing is trashing the work that they've done for that event. If it is reasonable in terms of like the rules are not being followed for some teams, but like if it's
there are certain things that you can shit talk when meeting reasonable, like it's not shit talk at that point. It's reasonable criticism.
Yeah.
Through it's criticism because you want it to improve.
Yeah.
Versus I'm shit talking this because X
I feel
reason.
like it, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it. It's not constructive.
It's not helping. It's just
and I think like we need to be able to split that up and get rid of as much of the shit talk and commend the people that have put in work and effort, criticize, give advice, help, give constructive like ideas, but like you need to take that time to word it in a way that is not demoralizing for the volunteers who are running it, because it is ran as like a passion project for them.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's why I made it extremely in the few things I was typing in the chat of Battle of the Brainless, and whenever the guy was streaming, I was like, look, we got stomped, there was some smurfs, whatever. Thank you for running. I just wanted to play, and that's the point. Thank you for running. And I think that needs to be drilled in. Thank you for running. Because, like, yeah, the rules weren't laid out amazingly. I got to play 4 games. One of it was against a team similar to a bit lower skilled than my own team. We won that. It was a fun game. We enjoyed it. We played really well. I hope they enjoyed it as well. Next game, we played against someone who was supposedly smurfing. And we put up I was pretty happy with the fight that we put up now based on what like rank he's supposed to be.
From what you've discovered,
from the limited, we have a Silver 2 jungler who doesn't have a mic and has never played competitive before.
Yeah.
And I was shot calling everything while playing AD carry.
Yeah.
Like, and we put up a pretty solid fight, and I was like, look, I'm happy with that performance. I got to play. The 2 games we played the other day, fucking terrible. No one showed up. Like my support was like missing stupid shit. Jungler was like unsure of everything. Mid laner was just making poor decisions.
Yeah.
Top
But
laner was getting solo killed and ganked, and I was just missing farm. Like I was just not clicking minions right. But that happens. And I'm more thankful that we got to play than having done nothing anyway.
Yeah.
And like that's why I'm like I don't mind being forgiving of mistakes when they're made by like tournament organizers or whatnot, because the want to play for me is more important than that. Which is like that again. That comes down to the competitive drive that I have that some people don't have. Like you didn't want to play because you're like, man, it's gonna have a bunch of Smurfs in it. You weren't wrong. You're right. It did.
I look
But like I
the
didn't
team
care.
the
So
team that
that's
had the
like
Smurfs, right?
yeah.
Their mid laner, I got booted from like our manager,
Mm,
right? Like on because there was some shady shit, which I'm happy getting into after this little bit. But
yeah.
look, burning bridges is what I do. But yeah, and it was like I was like, bro, if I play, and plus my team didn't want to play either, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't even just me; it was the rest of the team, and it's like,
Yeah, that's
there's
the
no
thing. You
point.
gotta have everyone that wants to play, and everyone on my team wanted to play.
Yeah.
Which is like good. And we got
Um,
to.
but yeah, I was like, they're running all these like ex Chow players and like all these high ranked players. I don't trust the org itself anyway, based on some shady shit, which, you know, it ties into the reason why I got him removed as the manager.
Mm,
But I was like, and if I play and lose, obviously nothing's gonna be uncovered by what like rank they actually are and whatnot. But the shit talk is just gonna be there, and
mm,
like I feel like if the playing ground is even and I lose, that's on me, right? Like, but if you're hiding like a grandmaster account or something, and we see nothing that they play beforehand, and then they come in and like kick our ass because of that player who's hiding stuff,
mm.
it's like you're gonna trash talk me anyway because he would do it regardless because
Yeah.
he's also quite young. But it's like I just don't want to be in that situation. Neither did half my team. So it was like, okay, I had just come off of a low sock tournament that we won.
Mm.
So like I was pretty burnt. I played a best of 5 from like 10 p.m. my time till like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Had to reverse sweep that, you know. Still got some magic playing Malzahar in game 3 and 4.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, I just didn't. Not that like I was like happy if it succeeded, right? But I was like, I didn't think it would.
Yeah. I also think like there's a certain amount of like if you play a tournament and you lose, and then you say after you've lost, these people are smurfing. Doesn't matter if you're right. Doesn't matter if you can prove it. I think that means less because you've
Yeah,
just played and lost
yeah,
versus if you didn't play them, you didn't lose, you just didn't play at all, and you say from a completely removed, non-biased third-party perspective, like, oh, hey, by the way, these guys are smurfing and here's proof. Holy shit, that means a lot more.
yeah,
That's why, like I was pretty sure. I was like, man, these guys are really, really good for the like no game played, low ranked, low level account, but I can't prove anything
yeah. I can't prove
and
something's wrong.
I don't really care, and it just looks whingy if I say something.
Yeah,
So
especially once you
I'm just
just
gonna
got your
deal with it.
shit kicked in. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And like my team didn't care that much, so
like
it's like, but whoever said something, I'm glad that they said something, because again, to come from a third party, I think is like it just
yeah,
means more, right?
yeah. Because if you like I've always had this entire like perspective. If we play the game and we lose, I don't give
Mm.
a fuck if they're smurfing.
You
Right?
chose to play that
We
game.
went into that game. We don't get
Yeah,
to retrospectively be like, ah shit. Well, I actually know this about this person on that team.
yeah, yeah.
We
Once
chose
you
we
get
chose to
into that
roll
game,
that dice.
you're in that game.
Yeah,
I think, unless they're like scripting, and you
yeah,
found out in the middle of the game, or like yeah, unless it's like something super egregious,
yeah.
like
Like
very
pausing for
clearly
coaches or some shit.
scripting.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, or
Like
like someone logged out of the account on stream and someone else logged in, or something really stupidly egregious
yeah,
and visible. Like I think if you think someone's doing something, you bring it up beforehand. Once you go into that, no, you're into
yeah. And
that.
if you can't prove it, it's tough luck. Right.
Yeah, I think it's just bad on your own image.
Yeah.
And in such a small community, I think your image is important.
It's the same thing. Like I find if you know the player, right? For instance, let's say, you know, we're back in like the old Iron to Gold days, right? My team's coming up to your team, and you know, there's like that 5 rank game rule or something.
Mm,
Boom,
yeah.
G Bear doesn't have his 5 games done, right?
Yeah, but you
And
know
then
G-Bear.
yeah, but like for
Yeah.
instance, there were players back then who would be like, well, we don't have to play the game, you just lose, because he
Yeah.
hasn't played his games. Whereas I was more like, fuck, I'd rather play the game.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, if you guys hit the next round and that team decides not to play you, that's on them and you guys. But I was like, I'd much rather just fucking play.
Yeah.
And I was always of that mindset, but there were players on my team who would just take the easy win, and it's like there's not much I can do about it. If
Well, I mean, yeah, we got offered that night. Like when we came up against the team, like Vigi was like, "Hey, can I play? We forgot to do a thing here, and the admin said we can play if you guys are okay with it." And I told
yeah,
my team, like, Vigi's probably gonna like solo shit on our top laner, no matter what. He'll probably play Lee Sin top, and he'll probably just like be at our inhibitor by 15 minutes.
are we in?
But but by the rules of the tournament and by his account, technically he's allowed to play. So I don't see why we should say no
Yeah,
when the only reason, like, we have no written reason why he shouldn't play. He'd just be quite like scared of us to say no.
yes,
So then we let him play, and it wasn't even him that was the fucking Smurf. It was the funny thing. He was the problem. If they didn't have him, I reckon we win again, no matter what.
yeah.
Because like, if they don't, yeah, I don't know. I think game goes pretty different if we don't have to deal with insanely fed Lee Sin with us playing 4v5.
Yeah.
But
That's the
my top laner tried his best, and like he got dumpstered by Vigi, which like what can I say, man?
yeah. Like there's
Yeah,
no shame in
it
that,
happens.
right?
Yeah, there's no shame in getting
Like
shit on by
you at
Vigi's Lee
least
Sin.
you at least had the respect of playing the game, right? Or
Mhm.
like letting him play. Could
My
have
top
been
laner took that shit on the chin and took it like a champ, and I think that's more important than anyone that just like fucking cry and complain about it.
yeah, or be like, well, you can't play. You're not allowed to play. I'm
Yeah,
like again, if there's no written rule for it, especially like if it's like ranked games played in that week and like you actually know the person,
yeah.
right? So for instance, Sparky's a really good example, right? Like day
Just
job,
fucking
kids,
never fucking played the
right?
video
But like,
game.
he had a job, he had kids, right? Like,
Yeah,
and like he was doing it as like a nighttime hobby, and like,
yeah. He wants to come play some League of Legends, play some competitive games for fun, to
yeah.
relax and just play, man. So just
Um,
let the man play.
I think that there's always the exception to the rule, and he probably would have like got it.
Yeah,
But I'm also of the opinion, right? And I've stated this. If you have enough time to play scrims or normals with your team, and then the tournament
yeah,
games, you should be playing your 5 rank games then.
yeah.
Like, unfortunately, it is kind of your own problem that you're playing normal games when you're not meeting the requirements of the tournament org.
If you like, if I can think like if you don't want to play them because you don't want to ruin the rank on your main account, right? Get a second account, play them on that account, declare it, show it, like play. Just get the games played,
I think that was the whole point of
right?
having to play games, though, right? Like, you're meant to either ruin your main account by
Hmm.
running down like games, or you're meant to
Yeah,
climb, right? Not saying it's a great system because
yeah,
I've seen some shit happen.
yeah.
But like
But like
that
if
was
you're
the premise.
playing those games anyway on a second account, you're going to either go up or down.
I think with a second account though,
So
you're more likely to just be like, ah, fuck it, I'll just lock in Yumi top or some shit, right? Like you're more
yeah, but
willing
that's
to,
visible, right?
yeah, kind of, right? Like you
Yeah,
could have a,
you're
you
like, all
could be
right,
like,
you're
it's
clearly trolling your games
nah.
on this
I
account.
saw some guy do it in Korea, like we're
Uh,
practicing a new pick.
yeah, I think that like comes down to the whoever the admins are being able to like think for themselves
Yeah,
and make decisions. I also think that the respect for the admins was like not there. Like when because the okay, it's not entirely unwarranted, right? There should be a relationship between players and admins. There's a level of respect. The admin has authority. The players does not have authority.
yeah,
You live by what the admin says. However, we got burnt by admins making shit decisions, admins making biased decisions because of drama and personal relations
yeah,
that destroyed the trust between player and admin. So then the players took it upon themselves to prove that this person is smurfing, blah blah blah. They had to come up with like undeniable, irrefutable proof or
The
evidence,
Google Docs.
or they had to talk to their best friend who knew someone and pull strings to get someone removed because the admins didn't do their fucking job half the
Yeah.
time. And I'm not saying all of them; some of them didn't. Which is like that's why I think the solution to this is again, it needs like it's new people, new blood, new ground. Like I'm supposed to have a chat with Casual about this later. Now
I've also been talking to Casual.
yeah, I've okay. I'm gonna be honest. I have heard some not great things about Casual, and some of the people that he hung out with, I don't like.
Neither.
But I ran into Casual in the rank game. He invited me. Brenny like started shit talking me to Casual. So then Casual was talking in game, and then Casual was like, "Come join VC. You live." And I was like, "Whose head am I live?" Because I didn't know who it was. I was like, "Whose head am I living in rent free?" He was like, "Brenny." I was like, okay. So
Yeah.
I
Look,
joined him, and then I had a good conversation with him, and I think Casual's probably an alright person. From my own personal experience,
yeah.
I haven't seen anything wrong with the guy. I've heard stuff, but I don't think it's fair to like judge people on based what other people say. Like I'm not gonna die for Casual either. I'm not gonna take a bullet and be like, nah, this guy's fine. He didn't do anything bad. Like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna put myself out there for him. But am I opposed to working with him to set up tournaments or like help make a team? No, I think he's a like smart enough individual to like work with
Yeah.
on
I
this
mean,
sort of stuff.
I've I've also had like that opinion. Again, I
Mm,
have actually I coached his team back when he was in gold.
mm.
Admittedly, I basically just flamed their mid laner the entire time. Like,
Yeah, sounds like envy coaching.
and I kid you not, right? They played into Black Hawks, which ironically was Brenny, right? Brenny was a Silas OTP, and Cassiopeia just got buffed that same day, and the mid laner was like a Cassiopeia man, but he was still unwilling to play the matchup, and I'm like, bro, what the fuck you doing? I set them up like really good drafts, in
Yeah.
the like good drafts for Iron to Gold, and then they
I did.
fucking
I remember talking about them because you messaged me that you were coaching at the time. Um,
yeah, everyone was
and
like,
I was
oh, not
like,
like this.
yeah, I was curious. I was like, I wonder what Envy's coaching looks like. What is it? Is it positional coaching? Is it drafting? Is it like mentality coaching? Like, what is it like? I think
Well,
your drafts were pretty good. If that's what you were doing, I think like yeah, your
we
drafting was
had
like fine.
we had two people, me and someone else, and I was more of like
Yeah,
the secondary coach,
yeah.
right? But again, like this is a GGG team, so it was undesirous. You know, I've not
Yeah.
had a lot of good experiences with him, but again, different day, different rabbit hole. That's
Yeah.
there's been some stupid shit, and like there is
Yep.
some egregious stuff which probably I will never come back from.
Mm.
You know, just anyway. So yeah, so I was coaching the team, and I remember after game one, which they lost, and like the coach is like yelling at them for like trading. They took Dragon while the other team took Baron, even though our team had just lost the team fight. So like
Yeah.
momentum is huge in League, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the team who won the fight,
You
they
lost
had
a
the
team fight, but
momentum.
you still somehow traded an objective. It's not bad.
Yeah. And I messaged one of them because again I wasn't talking, I was trying not to talk over him. You know,
Mm.
he was technically there before I was, and I was just like, bro,
Don't listen to this idiot.
I was kind of like, don't like, do not tilt off that. It was the
Yeah.
correct play. And like,
Yeah.
you ask anyone, if you can get anything on the map when you're fucking losing, it's a correct play as long as you don't lose
I've
Nexus.
literally, with no context, have just like before you even said it, pretty much agreed. Yeah, I was like, if you've lost a team fight and were somehow able to trade Baron for Dragon or Dragon
Yeah,
for Baron, fucking take it, man.
yeah.
Because realistically, if you just lost a team fight, you shouldn't get either of them.
Now you shouldn't get anything,
Yeah, so if you're
right?
able to take something, take it, man. That's a win.
Yeah. So I lost game one, won game two, and then lost game three, I believe.
Mm.
I was like, well, fuck, right? Because my mid laner was unwilling. Again, I'm harping on the mid laner, but like, it's the role I play. So like, it's the
Yeah, so
role I
you
was
should
like
have been
most
positional
invested in.
coaching.
Probably.
Yeah, it probably shouldn't have been touching the other lanes. But yeah.
I hardly did. It was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like, bro, how can you main this champion and not be willing to play into, like, arguably your enemy's best champion, but your good champion is a direct counter to his champion.
If you main a champion, you should be willing to
To play
pick
it in
that
your hand.
champion into any matchup, including the bad matchups.
Yeah.
Because you're maining that champion, you should know how to play those bad matchups. And especially if the other person isn't like, okay, it's a bit different if Brenny's like a Silas player,
But
and so
my
then he
thing.
knows it. But like,
So
you should just be able to play it, man.
he was a legacy Cassiopeia player. He hadn't played like he hadn't shown it much because of the fact that the champion wasn't good. The champion just got buffed like that day because like for some reason the tournament was on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So you get that buff, and I'm like, I
You
tell
wake
him
up
that day,
in the morning,
like, I'm like, you play even if you're on a Smurf, you get those
Yeah.
those hands down. And I
Yeah.
was like, if
Yeah.
this comes up, we don't have to ban Silas. We
Yeah.
have Cassiopeia.
You wake up in the morning, you get 10 games of norms. I don't care what game. You just remember how to play the game. You get 10 games of Cassiopeia in like earlier that day. Obviously, assuming you don't have to work or whatever the fuck.
I mean, even a couple games,
But,
right? Like if you've played the champion
yeah.
enough, you just have the hands back.
Yeah, tournament starts at like what, 6:30?
Yeah, like
6?
7.
You like most people finish work at like 5 or at school at 3, whatever. Look, unless you've got like a really shitty time where you come home 5 minutes before tournament starts, right?
Yeah.
Jump in practice tool even 5 minutes, man. Like just remember how to
just the
do
movement.
the simple
That's
stuff.
all. That's all you need, right?
Remind your muscles what happens. Play
and
that.
so like now I'm pigeonholed into having to ban their mid laner's best champion because my mid lane is too scared to play into it while playing the direct counter. So like I feel like I was slightly pigeonholed, and again it's that I feel like if I'm touching on like LCS a little bit, right? Like Bjergsen probably had the same thing when he's like sitting behind Power of Evil. Right? Like Power of Evil loses games, right? Like so I'm like I'm watching the game and I'm like, bro, if I'm in that game, I'm winning this, you know? Like I win this game.
And his funny builds, man. Dude, I could just imagine Bjergsen with his book looking at what the fuck PoE was building when he was coaching. Like, dude, this guy, get him out, put me in.
Yeah. So like obviously it's not at like as high of a level, but it's still
but like same concept.
Yeah, I get the feeling, right? It's like especially if you have that
any
competitive
position
drive,
coach. Yeah.
Right, like, and again, we've both already discussed. I have this huge ass chip on my shoulder, right? And I'm like, I could have played that better, right?
Yeah.
And like, I could have won us that series.
But I think, see, that's the thing. You have to. No, this is hard. It's really hard for me. It's gotta be hard for you as well. But like, if you really want to coach stuff, right? You can't look at the game that way.
Yeah.
You have to. Doesn't matter if you could have played it better. You can't. You need to like never say that. You can't.
I didn't say it to anyone. It was just like.
Oh no, I know, but like you can't even. I don't even think you can say it to yourself.
Nah.
I think you have to like. You maybe if you know like, oh, I could have played that better, but like it doesn't matter. Can you explain why and how? Then can you translate that into a teachable thing?
Yeah.
For that person, and that's where you've got to like it's. Because that like you just think about like, oh man, if like only I was playing, we would have won this game. And it's like, yeah, but that's not your job.
Nah, that's not
your
what
job
I was
is
doing.
to teach them how to play, which is hard, but
I was
it's a skill in itself. Yeah.
And like I did get scapegoated, but I was like, that fucking hand I was dealt. Like there were some good pieces. Don't get me wrong. That bot lane was like good. Do I like the fact he was playing heaps of Ziggs? Not really. Because if your mid laner only plays mages and your AD carry is playing Ziggs, it's like you're pigeonholed into double AP in your 2 carry positions.
I don't know, if you have a Kindred player, I think that shit's nuts.
I don't think he was a Kindred player.
Yeah, probably not.
But yeah, it's like that's something you look back on, and again, I felt a little scapegoated. But we're talking about casual, right? Like,
yeah.
He was the top laner on that, and like he was alright. He was pretty chill then. I think when like the public perception on him went down was like the whole casting of G-Bear, right? Like there's that casting moment which you probably also remember.
I was playing with him with G-Bear during that game where like G-Bear just got shit talked for not, I think.
Yeah. which is
And it was
like,
like that wasn't fair, I don't think.
I mean, it happens, right? Like I've had it done to me as well.
Yeah.
I think you can say the same message with different wording.
Dude, I've never had my name said correctly
Collat
in
or
by
Collat.
any no Collat, but like even you go Collat, but like that's part of the like New Zealand accent, I'd
Yeah, that's
say.
my
But
accent.
like,
Why you
but
flaming?
but like I've never had anyone say it correctly, like while they're casting me.
Yeah.
I've had the weirdest fucking like, oh dude, I swear someone called me Colgate. Like the fucking toothbrush shit. I've had someone say that like
What
while
they're trying to
and I
say is
was
you're not clean. I'm just saying.
needs some fucking toothpaste because this bitch dirty. Yeah, but like, dude, I
Fuck.
don't think I've ever had someone like correctly, even in the um. Oh, dude. Okay, so like, one of the games I played with WKW, me and Sparky got to play Lucian Braum against Threat and someone else. The caster, the entire game. We were also playing against Nova. It was
Yeah.
best of 3. We won the first game. The entire first game, the caster's just sucking Threat off under the desk. Constantly, just
Yeah,
like,
I
he's
I hate
Threat,
when they do
he's
that.
the GOAT, he's the guy. Meanwhile, this guy's getting run through by me and Sparky and Lane, by the way. And then Nova makes like the worst plays possible with his hands on Lee Sin.
No
And then the
hands.
guy's like, yeah, no hands Nova. And
Yeah,
then the guy's just like, oh, but it's okay. Nova's like off road, so like we won't give him shit for that. And then like
that's not how it works. But yeah,
G-Bear missteps and gets like flash fucked. And then he's like, oh my god, how could you not see that coming, G-Bear? Why are you walking? And I was like, bro. And then like we had to do it to him. We had to penta on them. And then the guy's like literally in the middle of my like penta, guy's still sucking off Threat. And then says my name wrong. And I'm like, motherfucker. It
man
was
just
so
ruined
like
my clip.
I have it clipped and I watch that shit and then I just hear it and I'm like, oh man, it's not a hard name, man.
Colgate, my man Colgate. I might have to put that in the title though. I'll just be like, sit down with MV featuring Colgate.
God damn it.
Um, but yeah, I think I don't know. It'd be interesting trying to set something up. I said this to casual, like because back when like BSC was like booming, I always had the idea of changing it into like an LCS format split. Now
Yeah.
I get that would like enclose new players, but there's a reason for it, and like
Yeah.
there's a couple different scenarios that you run. So you do like the same normal like ladder LCS was doing with relegations. Obviously, like you shorten it down because the turnover of players is a lot higher, and you know the teams
Yeah.
had the teams had the spot, not the players on the team, right? Because there was that couple issues with some teams where like the teams like split and then half the people want that spot. It was fucking stupid.
Yeah, see,
But
that's why I was allowed to play in the like Eindhoven ECB split.
Yeah.
Is because the Lo-Fi team had the split and like had a spot.
Yeah.
And because the Eindhoven and the Gold were considered two separate
entities, so you could play them both.
Oh, sorry, I think it was Iron to Gold and there was Plat to Diamond. I think
Yeah.
was that it?
Yeah. Might have just been Iron to Play and Iron to Gold. It was probably
Yeah, it
those
was
two.
some it was
And,
some, it was something
Diamond
like
Plus
that.
or something.
Yeah, and a lot of the teams had similar players in both because they were run on different nights. But like because the team had the spot, we were able to substitute players and
Yeah,
stuff. So I think like
pull
teams
someone
having
in.
spot is really good.
Yeah.
Like I agree with orgs or teams or names having the spot. I think that's like very, very good.
Because what you do, right? Because if you're wanting a difference of opinions in terms of like staff teams, right? Because the way I see it is, if we're doing something, everyone has to do it. It can't just be some people wanting to prop up the scene and other people like, once the scene gets propped up, hightailing it to it, right? Attaching their boat when the boat's already moved, just getting dragged along. So the way I propose,
jumping on the bandwagon.
would be you have an 8-team split, right? Or 10 teams, depending on how many orgs are actually out there, right?
I think, yeah,
Because
eight's probably a good start, but yeah.
Because you would have to go 1 team per org, unfortunately. That way you get actual like parity. So there are teams where like WKW has 2 Iron to Plat teams, or at least they did. Right, you got
Or
MCOM, who's
MCOM
like
had 10 fucking teams.
MCOM's holding like 4 Iron to Plat teams at the moment or something. I think
Yeah.
they're doing trials so that that might get shortened down to like 1 or 2 teams. But yeah, you do, because if you have to, you just do in-house best of 5s before the split start, and then that's who you decide gets the spot. Right, and
yeah,
then,
that's how we did it in Lo-Fi. We had 2 different, because like both the teams were, well, like we had different. That's because we didn't know who was the plat, who was the gold team.
Yeah.
So we had in-house best of 5.
and based on your
We
performance,
swapped
you
players
moved up.
around,
Yeah.
and we were like, okay, who's performed consistently in these games? That person gets the plat.
Yeah.
This person gets the gold. Aside from
Yeah.
ineligible players.
And so what
yeah.
you do is you go 1 person from each org, right, is on the admin team. That gives you 8 admins, plus you get an outside name such as, I think Papa Pike is kind of interested.
I like Pike. Pike is a great guy.
Right?
Yeah.
So that puts you on a committee of 9 people.
I think he should be like our voice.
Yeah.
Like real, like he's a very good non-biased person that like has a popping stream. He's LCO like linked.
He's LCO bound. Like he
he is our guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like that's why you have to have it like 9 people or 11 people, right? You can't have an even number because you'll get into a stalemate if shit goes like 4-4 or 5-5. So you need that one extra person who can sway the vote, right? Like whichever way it goes. And then you do it based off like boardroom, like a boardroom vote, right? And unfortunately, everybody has to be a grown up, and if they don't get their way in the vote, they just have to suck it up and live with it.
What were the voting like? What would they vote on? That's my only.
So
do you mean like the decision of like, oh, this player shouldn't be allowed to play?
Yeah.
I'm assuming a situation would be like WKW finds that someone from MCOM is like believably a Smurf.
Yeah.
Their org's representative, because I wouldn't call them admins. But whatever. Like their org's representative brings it to the committee of other orgs.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey guys, like I think this player is breaching the rules in a way. This is what we believe. This is our evidence. What is your collective opinions of it? The decision's made by that 8 people plus the one non-biased person.
Yeah. So
that would be the
the
9. Tiebreaker person.
Yeah.
If required, and then what they just decide, yes, they can play or no, they can't play.
Yeah, based on the vote, right?
Yeah.
Because that way,
I think that could work. Yeah.
Because every org, in theory, should have their own. It would also need some, like, respect.
You have to know who is playing.
Yeah.
Before the night, matches would be like decided, like the whole I'm assuming you'd run
if it's a split, then
yeah, it'd be a split round robin, best of 3. You play this team on Wednesday night. You play best of 3, so it would last 8 weeks.
7. It'd be 7 like round.
Yeah,
if you go
7 weeks for an 8-team round robin.
Like if you're doing best of 3s, right? If you're just doing, it would also depend how long you want to run it for, because again, teams are very quick to disband and players are quick to leave and.
Yeah, that's why I always think the smaller the better.
So yeah, you'd have to like look at maybe tightening it down. Instead of like best of 3s, you go best of 1s. You play 3,
and then you can play 2 games a night,
or 3, depending on. Because it's weird because you've got
2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you go 2 games, or you go 2-2-3, right? So you play 2 games first week, 2 games second week, and then 3 games the next. And then you just do single round robin, and then you go top 6 teams. You go LCS bracket, top 2
I'd
get
even cut it top 4 teams.
Top 4, yeah.
Best of 3s, single elimination.
Yeah, and then first seed gets to pick who they play, right? Like that. That's the benefit of having first seed.
You get that wrapped in literally 5 weeks as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be
2, 3 semis, finals.
5, yeah.
Yeah, 5 weeks. Wrapped an entire split. that's like, so you're not on a team. Okay, cool. You wait 5 weeks. You have a 1 week downtime, and then you start the next
Well,
one again,
here's what
right?
you could do, right? And like this is kind of what I was trying to pitch to BSV back in the day, is you
Mm.
then have like a relegation system.
The bottom two teams have to play
Have to
other
play
teams.
that want to come in.
Yeah.
So you would
I
have
guess
to
it depends
be
how many teams want to come in.
yeah, you would have to be like a credible org, unfortunately, right?
I think you can, if you have enough team. Okay, if you only have one or two teams that want to come in, right?
Yeah.
And you're running 8 teams, you just
You could
expand it
just
to 10
expand it to
teams.
10, right?
Or if you have 8 teams running and 4 teams want to come in, just have two 6 teams splits instead, running simultaneously.
Yeah.
At Division A, Division B.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess you could.
Because then you, like, no matter how many teams want to come in, if you have then, because that's 12 would be 2 groups of 6.
You know
You
what you could
have
do?
2 groups of 8. You can move up to 16 teams.
Yeah.
Instead of having, you don't have
And
to
then you go
like,
groups. Yeah, you wouldn't have to
yeah.
like bring people
The
out.
only, yeah, you can get everyone playing.
Yeah.
In small, it's 5 week groups, and then at the end of the 5 weeks, the bottom 2 teams from Group A and the top 2 teams from Group B, boom, switch.
Yeah. Well, that
Or
would mean
like,
that one of the groups is actually better than the other group. My what I
well,
just
you'd
thought of.
assume the winner of top B should be allowed to move up into the bottom
Yeah.
of Group A, right?
Yeah. Or here's the fun part. If you
Mm.
go 12 teams or even 10 teams,
Yeah.
right? You go so winner of now you'd have to play the first split, right? So like you have the 8 teams. If it expands up to 10 or
Yep.
even if it stays at 8, you end up doing groups. But the way you do groups is you go first seed automatically
Yeah.
in group A. They then get to pick who goes into group B, right? And like you can't play them till the bracket stage,
Yeah.
right? So that way, for instance, if I'm let's say Envy in the Apes, right?
Mm.
We top it. We don't want to actually play you guys in the group stage, who are like the second clear best team. We
Yeah.
chuck you in the other group, and then you
Yep.
guys pick a team to go into our group. So in theory, you're trying to label off the strongest teams into the other group,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah,
you can get the fun storylines, and there's probably I
Or
don't
maybe
know if there would be
maybe
bad
you
games.
want to play on us. You want to beat us early. You're playing really well this week, and you want to play the second best team as soon as. So you're like, no, come into our group. You're stuck with us, bitch.
Yeah,
Because
like
you have their number, maybe.
yeah,
Like, you know you can beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. I like that.
like we put like let's
I don't
say
think
I'm
any of
still
this is hard to run either.
like if you
Like-
know if we're first seed, we chuck like the team which is arguably third seed into the other group. They're most likely just going to give us the second seed,
Mm.
right? And like that's an ego move, which can backfire. And if it backfires,
Yeah.
it's fucking hilarious, right?
Yeah.
And like that's how you get storylines. You know, you then run an analyst desk because there are people who would probably do an analyst desk.
Yeah, I
Right.
would if I wasn't playing.
Like, yeah, me too.
100%.
If I wasn't playing the week or like if my team's been knocked out, I'd come fucking hang out on a desk.
I'd analyst, cast, do whatever. I
Um,
think that's good giving it to, because look, that's the other thing. Running it behind Pike, right?
Yeah.
Gives him sole streaming rights, so no one org is benefited.
yeah, I
Because
think
none of
we'd
the
give it
orgs
to
are.
Pike. Yeah.
It's just Pike gets to do it. I think maybe you can put in some prize money if you want, but maybe it's like a buy-in. Every team puts in $5. Top team gets everything. Simple as that, right? If you don't want to, that's okay. Maybe like I think that's a little bit open. Like try 1 week without. Try next split. Offer it to every team. It's $5. You have 5 players in each team. It's $1 a person.
For like,
And
it's
and if it's 8 teams, it's $40. And then look, Pike throws in $10 himself, maybe, or something, or some nondescript third party drops in $10, and then the
Yeah.
winning team gets $50. You put in $1, everyone now gets $10 each, or some. Like, start it small.
yeah, and
small.
it's not even again. Competitive players don't care about the money.
Yeah,
I don't care about the money.
yeah.
Like
Neither do I.
I like to play. I always
Yeah.
liked to play. Right. So
Yeah.
even like again, like I touched on a little bit earlier, I won the like Lolsock tournament not too long ago. I told my captain I don't give a fuck about the money, just keep it. And it was like
Yeah,
it was like $25, and I was like, I'm just
Yeah.
here to play.
I just want
Right.
to play a game, man.
And like I just want to show up and play.
Yeah, and like,
And
look, if Pike ends up making money off streaming this shit, fucking good for him. That's good.
yeah,
We want that. We want that.
and
Like, let him have it. Like, what's bad about someone doing good, right, man?
nothing. Plus,
Like, yeah,
we want him to get to LCO if that's his goal, which I think it is, right? Like
yeah,
he wants to go cast LCO.
yeah. Could you imagine if we had Pike is our LCO caster or something, and then on his off days, he redirects everyone to come watch. Hey, come watch Iron the Plat
Yeah,
on these, and then like he's got LCO, like, and then you know how LCO casters maybe get to go to Worlds or like there's
yeah,
communication through that. Like Kitty's in LPL English as well.
yeah,
And then someone off chance is like, "Oh hey Kitty, what do you do on weekend?" And she's like, "Oh well, this weekend I'm co-casting Iron the Plat in OS with Papa Pike."
yeah,
And then what 100,000 people that watch LPL like, what the fuck is OC Iron the Plat? I don't know. Let's watch it. And
yeah.
it's a bunch of idiot Australian Iron the Plat players.
Running
Like,
it down. Yeah,
obviously this is big like goal, like end goal level
yeah.
stuff,
This is
but that
like
is
if everything goes
if you
right, we
have
hit
no
every box.
goal,
Yeah,
there's no direction. Now we have the goal, we have the ideal. Now we
yeah.
just actually have to put it forth. I think we just like talk to casual,
I think we send
and
it.
I think we
Like,
send it. I'm down with you to send it. I can't say I can speak on Kraken's behalf, but I can almost guarantee that they'll be down with
yeah,
this. I'll talk to them after. Like
yeah,
I think
because you
fuck
like
it, send it.
as long as everyone's on board, and if you have to have a representative from each team
Mhm.
on the staff team or the council or whatever you want to call
Yeah,
it, right? Then
preferably they're not a player at the same time.
preferably not, but sometimes it's hard because again,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna
Well,
want to
okay,
be
because
not
it's
playing.
run. There are 7 other people. If all 7 of them are players, and then you are yourself a player and you're your
Who's hanging out on
representative.
the night, right? Like,
Yeah, you know the people you're talking to as well, right?
yeah,
Like you just be a bunch of big fucking adults, talk about it correctly, and like if everyone's running under the same rules, everyone's holding each other accountable and responsible. Like I don't
like
think
the
there's a problem
orgs
with
are
that.
holding their own players accountable.
Yeah, very much so.
So like if for instance
And if
again
you
you
was an
brought up
org, oh sorry, you go.
like this team suspects this player of being a smurf, no
Mm,
one else on that team should get involved, right?
yeah,
It should be the team representative and the player in question. That's it.
yeah,
Because what ends up happening, especially in like Iron the Plat, is 6 people join the admin help, and then you can't
yeah.
actually talk to the one person because everything happens at once.
Yes.
So like there has
Your
to be a
team
level of
tells your representative is in the person that has to go and talk.
yeah,
Only them. And look, if you as an organization don't want to follow with these rules, don't show up. You don't
yeah,
have to
don't come.
play. Don't
Like
fucking come. Don't come.
you guys can go play
It's
in
not hard.
fucking Flex or Clash.
Play
Like
whatever tournament is running. Oh wait, there is none.
yeah,
Like that's just, you know?
it'll
I
be
think I
very
agree. I think we send it. Fuck it.
it'll be very easy. Like there's honestly no downside.
Yeah.
Even if we go no prize money, right? Like those competitive people who want to compete and who want to, especially if like some of these orgs, because I know MCOM in the past were looking at like going amateur, going up if possible. I
Yeah.
don't know if OC is franchised or not, but like like they're looking to
Yeah.
improve, right? This does nothing but help, right? Because
Yeah.
it helps players, it helps a league where every team is part, like a franchise league in a way. There's no
Ideally this
downside.
just gets rid of like bad blood and drama between people as well, because you're forced to, if you want to be a part of this community, you
Yeah,
now have to deal with the people. If you've got a shit relationship with 5 of the players or representatives of the other teams, and they're the council that you have to talk to, you're not going to get anything through. So it's in your best interest
yeah.
to
At least
put
play
your
nice.
drama behind you.
Yeah,
Play nice. You don't have to like bow down and suck them off and
you
like,
you don't have to like them. You just have to play
yeah,
nice.
you just have to
Yeah,
be respectful enough to get through a quick conversation of, hey, does anyone have any problems with any players tonight? Do we, like, everyone's good following the rules? We
yeah,
all happy with this? All right, cool, done. That's it. Conversation over. Go play your games, man.
yeah. Because I think especially if you have to list a 8-team lineup,
Yeah.
right? Because I think 5 starters and 3 subs, that's plenty of players, especially if
Yes.
it's only 4 or 5 weeks, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't like
It's
the
only 5 weeks. If you have an emergency and 4 people can't come, so like you've got your 5 stars, your 3 subs, and 4 of your players can't make it for one of those 5 weeks.
yeah,
Unfortunate, just FF, man.
yeah, you just
Like it's
forfeit those
just
games,
sorry.
like
It's not that big of a deal. Just FF.
especially if it's for free, right? If there's no prize
Yeah.
money, you just take the game loss,
Yeah.
right? And then you come back next time.
Yeah,
Like,
if both teams agree and want to play, and you bring in some random player, the game doesn't count. The win goes to the team anyway, but you get to play a
yeah,
game for the night because that's what it's about. It's about playing the game.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I also had, this was on the like my many great ideas at BSV when like I just fucking fed ideas without actually wanting to do any of them myself because I was too lazy. But
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you guys could do this, you guys can do that. My other idea was up and coming casters who can't
Yeah.
cast on the night because sometimes if a tournament's ran on like D&D night or something, that
Yeah.
person never gets to cast.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the
Yeah, I had to choose between that shit for a while, and I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't fun.
one of the
I
ways
remember
around
finishing
it,
tournaments and then running to D&D like within 5 minutes. Like,
I'm here. But
yeah,
one of the ways around it is you get the game VOD, right? And you and you pair up with another caster. Like obviously you can't have seen the game, right? You can't know the result, right? Then you record yourself casting and watching the game, right?
yeah,
You then have someone edit it and like chuck the overlay on top of it, and then you just put it up as a VOD on a YouTube channel.
yeah,
Right, and then boom, you've even got more content, which because obviously people aren't going to see that game, right? Until
and
then,
players that play in their own games can't watch the stream, right?
nah,
Like the games that I play, I can't watch myself live, so I want to watch a VOD though.
yeah,
I want to see how the caster reacted to me
running
fucking
it down,
flash inting
yeah.
or getting a penta or saying my name wrong. Like I want to see
You seem
that
quite
as much
upset
as
about that
everyone.
one, but like,
But like I still
yeah,
want to see it. So
because you
like
get the
if a VOD's not,
adrenaline and like you get the rush of it, and
yeah,
like it actually makes you feel really good when they're like, oh my god, Envy just did this, right? Like,
yeah,
and
and that's
like
what it's
there's hype
about,
behind
man.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so like you get the VODs because I know Riff Royale or whatever the tournament was that was after it. It had one of the main criticism, which was actually probably pretty fair, is the fact that it was so long because they wanted every game streamed. Whereas
yeah,
if they had taken the VOD approach,
yeah,
then you could have had your cake and eaten it too. It could have been
yeah,
slightly shorter, and you still would have had all the VODs to go up. But yeah, I think Pike could host it, right? Because I
yeah.
know Twitch you can actually give out stream keys. Obviously, he'd
Mm.
probably only trust it to like someone who he actually would trust, which would be fair. I'd understand that.
I think we just let him make those decisions as well.
Yeah,
Like if he wants to do it, it's his do it. If he doesn't want it, we'll find someone else who does. Like 6000J, the guy who streamed the Battle of the Brainless. Look,
yeah,
if he wants to do it as well, like maybe they can work together.
yeah.
Like
Or like
leave all content decisions up to the person that is like nominated.
yeah.
And
Obviously,
like
myself,
yeah,
I'm going to make tier lists because
yeah.
that's what I
But then
do.
that's the thing. That's your prerogative. Any player or any other person can make their own content.
Based on it, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And if it's let's say it's a shared YouTube channel or whatever, and like you want to make something, but like it's with me and 2 members of the different teams have a quick 10-15 minute funny discussion, and I don't want to put it on my own YouTube, or they don't want to put it on theirs. It's like
yeah,
fuck it, let's throw it on the community I to play at YouTube.
yeah,
Just so it can be seen, documented. It's funny. It's there. It's good.
yeah. I mean, it's plus you can get player spotlights. That's
Yeah.
probably a huge one, right? Like I've just linked up with like a NA org who's like trying to like join amateur, and they're doing like their bronze and silver tryouts next week.
Oh wow.
Look, it is what it is, but like, and like they're wanting to like get players and then get into like some tournament scenes and whatnot. And like I
Mm.
edited together like a 40-second clip of like a player spotlight. And
Yeah.
from now I'll probably be doing like once a week on the YouTube channel I made for them, right? And then they'll
Yeah.
start getting more once they get into tournaments. There'll be VODs, and
Yeah, that's
it'll
the other thing. Once there's VODs, there's
there's
content
content from the VODs.
available.
Yeah,
Yeah. yeah, without the games played, there's nothing to. You can't have highlights if you don't play.
Yeah.
And highlights from solo queue or highlights from norms games only mean so much because they're
Whereas
against like you don't know
randoms.
the
Yeah.
but you know you're in a 5v5. This was a grand final highlight. You got a penta or a quadra, or you made a really good game-winning outplay in a
I shut up
tournament.
this guy who was talking shit before the game, right?
Yeah,
Like,
storylines, like it means more.
because especially if, like, because I don't know how much you watch the LCK, right? But that's like my league I watch. You know, you get
Yeah.
those like before like finals highlights, and especially
Yeah.
like players like Gumayushi, right? They're talking shit to like
my God.
Ruler, right? And
Yeah.
like they're like,
Dude, I love
you know,
Guma.
you just won't win, right? And like
Yeah.
just stuff like that. If you then go from you just won't win, and then you end up like it pans to like Ruler killing Guma or something, that's the best content you fucking got, right?
Yeah.
Because you've just like the person who said it got shut up,
Mhm.
and unfortunately that is a universal, like it's fucking universally loved when
Yeah.
like someone with a big ego who's shit talking just gets shut up.
Yeah. No, I yeah, completely agree. I think it's all just as you said. I think we just like is this essentially just the open invite?
Yeah.
If people agree with us, people want to make this stuff happen. Pike, if you watch and listen, like just we'll figure it out soon. We'll start DMing people. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Go talk to
because
casual.
again,
Go
you
talk to some
probably
other things.
go.
If you want to be a
go
part of it, just
masses.
ask,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go to certain people and ask certain people.
Yeah,
But like
there will be
if
certain orgs that will get an invite
yeah,
based
but
on
like if
reputation.
yeah, but we might not have all 8 filled out. Or if you
Nah.
want to come anyway and you want us, ask us. Fuck it. Like we'll like we will then. It's not just like us controlling it. We ask every other team as well that we've already invited.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want these guys to come join? And then like that's the part of it being
And obviously,
communicatively driven.
if it's a shady org, right, who's had nothing but issues in the past and they've been really
Yeah.
hard to work with, it's like, no, we don't want them, right?
And
like,
then like 5 people will say no, we don't. 2 people will say we do, and then it's voted 5-2.
yeah, and
Or
unfortunately,
like what?
you lost the
Yeah,
decision, right? Like,
yeah, simple as that. No bad blood.
yeah,
No, like it's collectively just written like that. No, I think yeah, he's the open invite. We're trying to fix the OCR and the plat scene as a
Yeah.
community, not as
Tempting
a
to.
self-written org.
Yeah. Plus, because like a lot of orgs, like they start off well and then it's like selfish, right? Like, and again, some of it's like up themselves of I'm doing this for you guys. You guys have no right to be critical of anything I do.
Yeah.
But I think we end it there, right?
Yeah, agreed. We're
Nearly a
running up
2 hour
on 2 hours.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for having this very long discussion.
No, thanks for having me. Like we've been trying to do it for a while, but like
Yeah.
finally got it done. And I think
Schedules
I think we did it at a good time as well with the current start of season almost trying to pull back into the community. The community, like there's clearly a want there. We've just found out.
yeah.
Like
There's some
I think
people
we've done it at
wanting
the right time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, man.
Right. Peace out, guys.